The first question is, why are you doing this, what we are doing this afternoon? Why do you want to do this?
I think it's because I've seen so many people suffering. I've seen how bad, and it's getting worse, people with alcohol problems, people, especially Kenyans in the US, who are struggling through alcohol dependency, and they don't have the support system, or even the American system is not there to help you recover. It's more like a punitive type of recovery. And being that in the US, quite a few people knew me when I was living in the diaspora, I wanted to tell them that there is hope. And so that's why I'm doing this, to share my own personal experience, and hopefully we don't lose any more lives, because we're losing lives to suicides, disease, chronic liver failure, all kinds of diseases. So my role here today is to just create awareness, and hopefully somebody can see from my story. They were used to seeing my success stories. So for the last 30 years, they would hear my success stories in business, but now I want them to see the other side, the human side.
So it's not that you've been coerced to come into this?
No.
It's not that somebody has arm-twisted you or said you must do this?
No.
This, in a sense, is your way of giving back.
Absolutely.
You're giving back to society.
Absolutely.
With your permission, David,
Absolutely.
I'm going to start with a dramatic story. Yeah? And I will ask to be forgiven by people online. David, you came back to Kenya to die.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Tell us the story of how you decided to come back from America so that you could be dead in Kenya.
Yeah, so I think my journey starts 10 years ago when I got divorced. It was a mutual divorce, mutual separation. But I thought now that I was free, then I could just do whatever I wanted. And so I started drinking, believe it or not, I started drinking in my mid-40s for the first time.
Before that, nothing?
Before that, barely. I mean, I used to drink half a beer. The whole night I'd drink half a beer. I'd drink wine with dinner on social occasions. But now, right before the divorce, I started drinking a little bit. Then obviously when I was free, as soon as I was drinking, it's not because I had any serious problems. I mean, my kids were fine. I was okay with the divorce. My businesses were doing well. I just lost interest in life. I just completely woke up one morning and I wasn't interested in doing anything in life. So I turned to the bottle and also some being around people that were drinking a lot. So it's funny that I picked up the wrong company. We tell our kids all the time, be careful who you hang around with. I did that in my mid-40s for the first time. And so about 3 years ago, I decided, I didn't want to die in America because I still have a lot of love for Kenya, and it's a place where, when I grew up in Kenya, it was a very happy time in the 70s and 80s. So I decided, I'm just going to come home, and Kenya is known for a drinking culture, so I immersed myself in it, and I was ready to die. And, I was okay with that.
That's really very interesting. We hear all the time that when their time to die comes, elephants migrate and move to the graveyard. So you were behaving like an elephant.
Absolutely.
Here I am in America, getting into an aeroplane so that when I get to God knows where in Kenya, you may die.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think I'm saying this because it sounds very dramatic, very morbid, but the fact is, when I look at everybody who drinks, the people that I know that drink a lot, if you really, really, even teenagers and kids and millennials and so forth, when you see somebody drinking so heavily, it's because they want to die. They just don't have the guts to commit suicide, and so they do it the long way by punishing themselves, because when people are drinking chronically, they don't care about their mothers, their fathers, their children, their job, their anything. So to me, at least this was my experience and then also my observation, when you see somebody, you see people going to rehab 100 times, they're still not, because other people are forcing them to live, but they've made the decision, either consciously or subconsciously, that they don't want to live. So to me, that was, when I look back, and the reason I recovered, and I've been sober now for 2 years from this facility, is because when I was with this facility, I decided that I wanted to live.
We'll come to that in a minute.
Okay.
Take us into the mind of a man who has seen spectacular success in America and who has literally come to the end and has looked himself in the mirror and said, this life has no longer any purpose. Take us to the point where purpose is lost.
So when I went to the US, I was 17 years old and I was in college, and by the time I graduated college right when I was 19, and I had 2 degrees. I was accomplished. I got a nice job with a big Ford Motor Company. I was doing extremely well. The first time I knew that I was depressed was when I looked at myself at 21. I had all these responsibilities, a mortgage, so on and so forth. But I drove past a college, University of Florida, and I saw people my age playing and running around and just having a good time. And but I was okay with that at the time because I wanted so much for myself. I wanted to be worth $1 million before I was age 30. And most of the Kenyans that were in the US at that time, including my dad and my siblings, whenever you left, you graduated from with a master's degree, the best job you could get was either a professor, a taxi driver, or a...
Professor, taxi driver, in that order?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
good.
Not many options. And nobody was in business, nobody was doing extremely well. So I put a lot of pressure on myself. So thankfully, I was able to achieve everything I wanted to achieve. By 27, I had achieved my goal. By 30, I was doing extremely well. By the time I was 40, I was doing extremely well. I was able to do everything that was on my bucket list before I was 40. By the time I was 35, I was done.
Life was done.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then I went into, at 40 years old, I was offered a lot of money by a major company, and I sold all my businesses. And my idea was not to retire. My idea was I've done everything that I can do in this industry, and I was recognized in that industry. I wanted to do something different, just to challenge myself. And then I found out that trying to do other things, like I was selling cars before. I had car dealerships. In Kenya, you call it like a DT Dobby, whatever type thing. And I had 15 of them. And I was also physically tired. I'd hit a wall as far as being tired of, working so hard. I used to work 6 days a week. And Sunday, I'd pretty much sleep half the day because I was simply tired. And at 40, I felt like I had accomplished everything. I'd met everybody I wanted to meet. I had traveled. I had done everything. My kids, my family, my extended family.
So contrary to what they tell us, your life ended at 40.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good introduction.
Yes.
Yes. So here's a man whose life started in Kenya, ended at the age of 40 in America, and you were ready to hang your boots and say to the Almighty God, take me home. Okay. Again, just for effect, yes, you and I met exactly 2 years ago, last Tuesday. Again, just so that people understand, what happened on that day, on the 11th of February, 2 years ago?
So what happened was I was at Muthaiga Country Club, and I was having lunch, a business lunch, with 2 of my colleagues, and a lady and a gentleman. I don't want to name them. They're very prominent in Kenya.
Yes, we know them, but
Yeah.
that's our secret. Yes, go on.
The lady I call her the Iron Lady, not the Iron Lady, the politician, not that one. She's a very tough lady, and she looked at me across the table from me, and she started crying. I said, "Why are you crying?" She looked at me and she says, "David, you're dying, and nobody's telling you that. You are literally dying, and I can see that you're dying." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I've seen you for the last 1 year since you came from the US, and I see who you're hanging out with, and you're drinking." She says, and she's crying very, very heavily, and she was even shaking. And I was like, for whatever reason, My mother had been telling me not to drink, my siblings, my children, my everybody. For whatever reason, it resonated with her because she's my business colleague. She's not even somebody that I hang out with normally. And for some reason, it touched me that somebody who's a stranger that can be more concerned for me than I am concerned for myself. And immediately she called you, and I said, yeah, I'll go see him tomorrow. And you said, no, you're coming right now. And we came here, met in your office, sat down with you. My friend came upstairs, looked at the room, and I committed right then. And for whatever reason, when I met you, we only spent maybe an hour or less, and I convinced myself,
this is it.
This is it. This is it.
There are one or two people who work in this hospital. Look at them and tell them what struck you about this hospital. What is it that told you this is the right place to be at?
So the first thing, in the U.S., I've been to rehab 3 times. So in the U.S., what happens is, there was one time I was drunk, and my family thought that I was unconscious. But what had happened was I came home at 4 a.m. drunk, and they're trying to wake me up at 6 a.m. Obviously, I was not going to wake up. So they called the ambulance, and I was taken to the hospital. I don't understand what's going on. So the doctor is trying to help me, and I had very choice words for the doctor. So in the U.S., and I think maybe in Kenya, a doctor can admit you by force for 72 hours. So when I woke up, I was in a room full of just mattresses. This is rehab. Mattresses on the floor, and this is America. And the people on every mattress, it felt like 30, 40 people. And I woke up, I didn't know where I was, and I realized I was in rehab. And it was punishment. Obviously, being a powerful man, I called my lawyer, I called everybody. I was told, you can't. I even knew a judge, and I called him, he said, you can't. So I was so angry because I was being told to wake up at 5 a.m. There was one TV in the whole facility. I was being forced to give my urine with a man standing next to me. I had not committed any
No, that sounds terrible. We'll come back to that.
You know, so anyway, the reason that this place attracted me so much, it was not a jail. I was not being punished.
This is not a jail.
Yeah, I was not being punished. In the U.S., I had no access, when I would go to rehab, no access to my phone, my laptop, my whatever, Netflix, the whole deal. So this felt very comfortable. I felt like the staff were talking to me like a human being instead of like a criminal. In the U.S., they treat you like a criminal, and they just degrade you even more. So most people, when they leave rehab in the U.S., you're angry. And I remember that one time, I was picked up by my driver. As soon as I got near home, I went straight to a liquor store, bought a whole bottle, and drank it inside the liquor store. So even the other 2 times, I was always angry by the way I was treated. And so, you know, it never helped. And I saw that with other people.
As they say on TV, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I think that captures the introduction.
Yeah.
I think we know a little bit about what happened to you in America, the hospital, and so on. But I want us to go back now to the beginning, to the roots, just so that we can understand, in part, what literally drove you to America and what made your parents decide to go to the land of milk and honey. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and what your parents did in America, and what kind of life did you have there?
So it starts with my dad. My dad in 1960 was part of the Tomboya airlift program. I think the first airlift, I think, was 1959.
Correct.
And then my dad went in September 1960. And then my mom followed him in September 1961. And I think the program ended right after that.
100% right.
Yeah. So anyway, so my parents already had 2 children here in Kenya, a boy and a girl. And then when soon there they had my brother, you know, a year later. And it was a struggle for them to both work, go to school, and raise a child. So my brother came back, was brought to Kenya for the first time, even though he had been born there. And then I appeared 5 years later, and my dad was very upset because he's trying to get his master's degree, and this woman keeps having babies, you know.
We'll call her names another day.
You know, so it was stressful for both of them, and so they ended up...
so just for context, your father would probably have been a contemporary of Barack Obama Sr.
Actually, they went on the same plane.
The same flight?
Yeah, same flight.
Okay.
They also both
Not dropping names, no?
No, not dropping names.
Not names dropping, go on.
So yeah, you know, Barack Obama's dad was September 1960. They used to just go once a year in September.
Yes, absolutely right.
So they were on the same airplane. They went to Minnesota, both of them, but when they got to Minnesota, my dad went to Mankato. I think his dad went somewhere else. But they were a very close-knit group. And so I think what you're asking me is, what happened to me then? So when I came to Kenya...
no, so you're born in the U.S.?
Yeah, I was born in the
Which
U.S.
year?
Huh?
Which year?
1967.
67.
Yeah.
So that's 4 years after independence. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, go on.
So then we moved to Kenya, I think in 1971 or so, or somewhere, or 72. And so I think my problem started with, I had a father that I didn't meet until I was 13, but I used to hear that I have a father in America. I had siblings in Kenya.
So you came just with your mom?
I came just with my mom.
Your dad said to this, your mom woman,
Right.
go back to Africa, you can go
Yeah.
on. All right.
By the way, I reconciled with him, so I was
Sure.
good. And I say this for context because even here in Kenya, parents go through divorces, and you know, so these things happen. And as a parent, I understand because I also got a divorce eventually. So I am in Kenya. I have a father that I hear about, but I didn't meet him until I was 13. I have three siblings that I've never met, but I hear they're around. In school, I was bullied because I didn't know who my father was, and I went to a very prominent school here in Nairobi. And everybody had a dad. Everybody, the whole of Kenyatta's cabinet, their children were in my class in this school. And so the first time I remember feeling a stigma was being called a bastard by other kids. And I think that's when I started, you know, questioning who I was. And then, so that I think, you know, that trauma, whatever you want to call it, I carried that for a long time. And then... in this context, we talk about adverse childhood experiences as predictive of future depression and other issues. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your adverse childhood experiences. Let me start with the fact that, you know, I was actually a happy child. My mother was a government official, did well for herself. We had a car when most people didn't. My childhood was great. I was in boarding school, in primary school. I didn't even start feeling bad until when I was in standard 5. That's when the bullying starts. And so, and then I realized that we were poor for the group of people, as you know. So for the first time, I felt inferior. Then when I went to a different school in Thika, primary school in Thika, those were the best 2 happy years of my life, standard 6 and 7. Nobody cared what my last name was.
So you are poor together with everybody else?
Yeah, it was a mix. In fact, my mom used to want to drive me to school, but because everybody else was walking, I wanted to be part of that.
Equally poor together?
Equally poor together. You
Brilliant.
know.
Okay.
But the fact is, we were not poor. My mom was a, you know, matron, hospital matron and all that. And it was, you know, I felt very proud of my mom, and I was very, you know, okay with that. And then the high school years were extremely wonderful years. But my first year in Form 1, I was walking, there was a school bell ringer, and I was walking out after the 10 o'clock break. I rang
What
the
school
bell.
is that? Is that the school?
Yes, that's Nyeri High School, yeah.
Okay, go on.
Best years of my life. This is me in Form 4.
Who is this fellow?
That's the one standing is me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. at my most handsome level.
I don't know, but go on. Yes, go on.
You know, and this is me in Form 4, wearing casual clothes, and those are two of my friends. That the one on the left, Anthony Kehoga, is a big engineer for the Ministry of Works. So those 4 years were happy. But when I was in Form 1, after I rang the bell, I saw a man walking, and he looked like he's from the diaspora. Turns out it was my uncle, and he said hi to me, and then I said hi. He introduced himself. I said, "Yeah, I've heard about you." Then he says, "You see this mzee here? That's your dad."
Good Lord.
And
just a random old man.
Yeah, my life was happy before then.
Yeah.
So now I start questioning myself, whatever. My mom is a great mom. You know, I grew up as a single child. You know, I was happy. I never shared my Christmas toys with anybody. You know, very happy life.
And then some random guy appears from.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he did anything.
No,
bad.
no, no. What's your first recollection of this fellow?
He was shorter than I imagined him to be. He was quiet. I thought my dad would be this guy in America. You know, he was just a nice, ordinary man.
Do you have a picture of him?
Yeah, later.
Some.
Yeah, that's him. That's
him.
when I was born.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the only image I had of him. So I didn't know his height, his gait or whatever. That's my mom. You know, and I grew up watching my own photos, very nice photos. So I was happy.
So this stranger appears, and your life is turned upside down.
Yes.
Go on, tell us about that.
But I didn't realize it was. And then I started now asking my mom questions for the first time. And then the second thing that happened is my mom moved from Thika to Machakos. So when I'd go on holidays, I was around people that were not speaking Kikuyu. It was a dusty little town. I didn't have friends.
Politically incorrect, but
yeah, sorry.
You may be right.
Sorry.
Yes.
So anyway, I remember, and then at that point I was in Form 3 and 4, and I remember that was the first time I experienced depression because I had nothing to do. When we lived in Thika, I had a lot of friends. Now here we are, I'm not going to school there. In primary school you could have friends because you're living in the same town. But when you're coming in just for holidays, and then, you know.
Tell us about depression in an adolescent in your case. Because you see, people think that depression only occurs in older people.
No, absolutely not.
Tell us about your own experiences with depression.
I think the first time I knew I was depressed is because I would spend all my time, you know, during the holidays, just sleeping because, you know, we lived in an
How old were you at the time?
14.
14.
So I'd spend my, you know, because we didn't have a shamba.
14?
Yeah, 14.
Okay.
Yeah, so parents, you know, if you see your child sleeping a lot because they're bored, it then turns into depression. Because I didn't have anything to do. You know, I'm here on holiday in Machakos, and I mean, I used to help with the housework, but once I'm done with the housework, we didn't have daytime TV, we didn't have computers or cell phones. So, you know, that's the first time I knew that I was depressed. And also, the first time a friend of mine offered me alcohol.
At 14?
14, yeah. Yeah. He was from a very wealthy family, and
in Machakos?
In Machakos.
The dusty little
dusty little place. And,
it's different now, I can assure you.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
So I would go to his house at 2 p.m. because my mom and I would have lunch at 1 to 2. And he was there drinking liquor, not even beer. He was drinking liquor. And obviously I threw up and all that. And that was my first time with it. I didn't like it.
14-year-old, liquor drinking, boy from God knows where.
Yep.
Okay.
And then, you know, and he was the only friend because we were together in school. We were both going to school, high school together. So when we'd come home, what is there to do in the afternoon? And the place was very, very, very hot. And I didn't have any friends. So, you know, but luckily my mom caught on to it and, you know, kind of avoided me drinking again. But the idea of escaping boredom, you know, was my problem.
So, as we'll discover in a little while, at the age of 14, and we do know that the earlier you start exposing your brain to alcohol, the more likely that you will end up with problematic alcohol consumption, or any other drug for that matter. So, in this little dusty city, now a big city, bored, unhappy, probably depressed, the go-to thing was alcohol.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, as you've already told us, at the age of 40 or 45, whatever, confronted by similar circumstances, the to-go-to thing, but proceed.
Yeah, so, so I was bored, and I didn't have any problems. I mean, you know, but my problem was boredom. And also, so that was the first time I knew I was depressed. Then when I went to America, I went there at, I just turned 17 when I went to the US.
Whose idea was it that sent this fellow off to the United States?
It was the only thing, because my dad was already there, and obviously I wanted to reconnect with him, because I'd met him at 13, and then he and I started talking by writing letters to each other. So, you know, and obviously the opportunities in those days, I think we only had one university, University of Nairobi, and then Kenyatta University if you wanted to be a teacher. So I wanted to go to the US.
So off you go. Your father is a professor, not a taxi driver?
Not a taxi driver.
So a professor? Very proud of him. Not a problem. Go on.
So, you know, the first job you get in the US in those days was as a dishwasher. And, you know, making $3.35 an hour. That's what everybody was doing. So I was not...
Enjoy dishwashing?
No. Because when I was growing up in Kenya, we had maids, just like everybody else. And the first day, in fact, I remember, I arrived in the US on Wednesday, and Friday I had a job. There was no break. I thought that I would be there for a month or two and then get a job. I was told, no, you take care of yourself.
Job number one, dishwasher.
Yeah, dishwasher. And so my first night, I go and I'm washing dishes, and the manager comes and says, oh, we have a problem. I said, what? Somebody vomited all over the toilet. I said, so?
Sorry, I just want to understand. This is America.
This is America.
The land of milk and honey.
And vomit.
You're in the toilet.
Yeah. And
cleaning up after some American.
Actually, I refused.
Oh, okay.
I refused. I said, you know, because I was a child of privilege. I was told, the manager told me, go clean this up. I said, no. I'm here to wash dishes, nothing else.
Not Americans vomiting all over the place.
No. I mean, you know, I grew up kind of upper middle class in Kenya. So, and so she said, well, if you don't do it, you're fired. You know, simple. And there was this African-American guy, he said, you know, for $20, I'll do it for you. The only money my mom gave me coming from Kenya to the US was $20. It was still in my pocket. I gave it to Joe.
Joe cleaned the toilet?
Yeah. But I knew that I hated it. And so when I was 18, I remember it was my 18th birthday, and I was thinking, and I was talking to my friends in Kenya, you know, what are they doing for their birthday? They had a big they would have big birthday parties, partying, you know, going to carnival, that type of thing. I was washing dishes, and I remember crying while I was washing dishes. I was 18 years old.
So you used your tears to clean the dishes?
Yes, absolutely.
Very, very clever.
And my hands, because I was using chemicals to clean these, you know, these grills that you put in an oven. So when you pull the grill out, it's black, and you have to clean that, and it has to be shiny with steel wool. And so my hands are turned yellow from the chemicals.
Are you trying to scare us?
It's reality. It's reality.
Do you mind if you take a little breath? So, the dishwasher, little boy, 18 years old, hands turning yellow, in the land that has been promised to us. And you finish cleaning the vomit.
Yep.
All right.
No, my Joe cleaned it for me.
Joe did it for you. Thank you. Thank goodness for Joe.
And, you know, so now accepting the new reality, going back to Kenya was not an option. That was not an option. My mom would the moms in those days, once you leave,
you're gone.
You're gone for life. And so, so I was depressed because this is not what I thought America was supposed to be. My brothers used to send me pictures of them standing next to the Statue of Liberty or the Twin Towers and all that. That was not the reality. And you know, then when I knew that my friends who were my age mates who had gone to A level, 2 more years of high school than I did, I was a child, but yet I was expected to be as responsible as an adult.
Absolutely.
And I didn't like it. I mean, nobody would. But again, that fueled me to have ambition, because I would see people that were 10 years older than me, Kenyans and Nigerians and everybody else, washing dishes and
being happy.
And being happy. I even knew guys who had master's degrees.
Washing dishes.
Washing dishes, driving taxis, and they were content. And I said, no, if I stayed in Kenya, I'd have become an engineer or a doctor or something.
Whatever.
But not, you know, I'm not going to get a degree like everybody else and end up doing manual labor. And I'm not saying that they wanted to do those things. The opportunities were not available to them. They were not being given jobs, you know, like working for these companies. So it's not like they were not trying.
So for you, adversity at 18, and perhaps even up to 19, was a propellant.
Absolutely.
And it told you, go to university, study hard.
Quickly.
Where did you go to university?
I went to college where my dad taught Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. And I finished there in 3 years, and and it was so easy. I mean, coming from Kenya, the first year they were trying to get these people that were in high school. The US system is not the best. So you're in college in your first year, people don't know how to read and write properly. So, you know, the first year was a breeze for me. The second year and the third year, I mean, I could have graduated with 3 degrees in the same time. So I just wanted to get my education out of the way, and I wanted to go make money.
So 3 years you got your degree?
Yeah, in 3 years I got 2 degrees.
And after that?
And but something monumental happened.
Go on.
When I was 18, so the first year I washed dishes, and I never wanted to do that. But I always believe that if you want something and you want it so bad, opportunities will come your way, and it's up to you to whatever, to take advantage of them. So because I was a very good student, and let me say this, throughout my primary school and high school, I was always an A student. In fact, if any of my friends are watching, they know I beat all of them.
Okay.
You know. So
all right. Some people say that, but go on. We believe you.
And even in college, I was I was the top of my class. So academically, I was always gifted. So I was very lucky. The dean of the business school invited me to go for an interview with a company called General Motors, and to go for an internship to work in a car dealership. As soon as I got to that car dealership, and I was told I'm not washing dishes or vomit, I was like, you can make me do anything.
Right.
And I say this was the biggest thing that ever happened to me, because I look at all the young people that are in their 20s and 30s that are suffering from addiction and alcohol, is because they don't have a purpose in life. When I saw that I could sell cars and make more money than my own dad in a month, that was my calling.
Is that your car?
That was I had 15 car dealerships.
Sir?
Mercedes.
This is just one of the little ones.
Yeah, I mean, and
I have to say, looks.
Yeah, that's a BMW. I had a BMW dealership. I had a Mercedes dealership. So at 18, when I found my calling, just like, for example, people find their calling to be a priest or to be a doctor, whatever. If a child at 18 can find their calling, they'll have a great life career-wise. You know, they'll do great. And that was very, very, very critical for me. So now I knew that I had a chance to not be a taxi driver or a dishwasher ever again. And that's why when I was 18, I made a statement, before I turn 30, I'm going to be a millionaire. And I would tell Kenyans that, these taxi drivers, and they would look at me and say, so now you found us here. And you came here the other day.
Yes.
What are you saying here?
At $1 million. $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million.
Nothing.
And in those days, $1 million.
It was $1 million.
In 1984, it was $1 million.
Absolutely right.
And, you know, and so when I went to work there, I remember, in fact, now I laugh when I think about it. If my boss would send me to go get something over there, I would run. And my boss would say, calm down, calm down. If I was told to sell 1 car, I would sell 5. And I loved it. And so I had a passion for that, and that's what propelled me. So that actually, when I was, then I remember, this is very significant, I was so ambitious, and I think my problem with depression has been putting so much pressure on myself that I get depressed because I'm not living up to my own unbelievably high standards. So I remember at 22, I was depressed because I thought I should be a millionaire by then.
At 22?
Yeah.
You thought that at the age of 22, you're old enough.
Yeah.
And it's getting late to be a millionaire.
And there were no Mark Zuckerbergs, young people making...
No. Okay.
And I was already working for Ford Motor Company. I was working there for 2 years. I was doing well. I was very well rated as an employee. But I just found I was unhappy. I was just unhappy.
22, a million is refusing to come?
Yeah, I'm just unhappy.
Okay.
I tried talking to my brothers and saying, you know, I'm depressed, I'm thinking about suicide. And they just, you know, they just ignored it. And I was very serious. Actually, one day, because, you know, in America, you can buy a gun at 15 or 18 or whatever. When I got my first job from college, I bought a gun. I don't know why. So one day I put the gun to my head, and I was going to blow my brains out. And then the phone rang. And it was a friend. His girlfriend was calling and saying, we're going to the movies. Why don't you join us? So I looked
put the gun down?
I put the gun down. I said, I'll get back with you.
Yeah. So now let's go party.
So I go out and we go to the movies. I have a good time. I come back to the house. I see the gun still in the living room. I said, this was silly, so I put it away. And I didn't have suicide thoughts for a long time. It came back later, but, you know, for a good many years I didn't, you know, and I knew how quickly a person can end their life without thinking properly.
So at 22, gun in hand,
yeah, saved
by a phone call.
Just a random phone call.
And off to the movies.
Yeah. And and I was doing well. You know, if you ask anybody at that time, I was doing better than any Kenyan that was in my circle. As far as their career, you know, I had a company car, company credit card. I had a house. I had a house at 21 that I had a mortgage on. I was doing well.
So you're on your way to high society.
But I'm not getting there fast enough. And so I was frustrated. So then actually, somebody told me, why don't you get married? Maybe that's your problem. So I came.
Is that your house?
Yeah, that was one of many houses that I built. This is a house in Augusta. It was 4 floors.
Augusta?
Yeah, Augusta, Georgia, where they play golf.
Augusta?
Yeah, Augusta, Georgia. Yeah.
Augusta?
Yep.
And you just drop the name? Just drop it like that?
Yep.
Augusta?
Yeah. That was my life. I built that house when I was 30 years old. That's still the most expensive house you'll find in Augusta today. And I built it.
Let's see it again.
I built
so
it.
You built?
I drew, because when I was in high school, I used to manifest. I used to draw my dream house. So when I would do,
can we have it back?
This is another house in Atlanta.
Another one of your houses.
Yeah, and again, I would buy the land empty, and I would draw the house. It's one of my hobbies. Even in high school, when I would be doodling, I'd doodle a floor plan of the house, and you know. So yeah, I always wanted this, and so. One of the reasons that I would get depressed every once in a while is because I was not getting there as fast as I wanted. So I came to Kenya and I met a beautiful young lady, and I met her in December. We spent a couple of weeks together. Then in March, I married her. And we were married together for 24 years. So I always make very, very rash decisions. And, you know, I'm not saying it was a bad decision. After all, we were married for 24 years and we had a couple of kids. But again, and I'll say this, when I married her, I told her that my career comes first. Me making money comes first.
Who are these people?
Oh, that's my current day. That's last year. I went to visit them. They all live in the U.S. That's my son in blue, my ex-wife, and my daughter. So we still have a relationship. We're just not married. You know, in fact, I asked them if I should do this interview, and they approved. So,
oh, well done.
yeah. So I sent.
Thank you if you're watching. Thank you.
Actually, I sent them all these pictures.
Oh, well done. All right. Thank you very much if you're watching us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go on.
So. So yeah, you know, she always knew that my building my business was the most important thing, and I think she liked me because I was ambitious. Because you know, we didn't know each other. You can't know somebody in 2 weeks and then marry them. But you know, and so I was always successful in business. But unfortunately, there's always a casualty for success. And my marriage, and you know, was one of the casualties.
Let me just see if I've heard you right.
Yeah.
There is always a casualty for success.
Absolutely.
What does that mean?
It means that, for example, in my case, when you spend, you know, 80 hours a week and you become extremely wealthy, it means that you didn't spend enough time with your wife. It means that you didn't spend enough time with your children. And if something happens where the relationship is broken or dysfunctional, it's because of your absence. And also, I would get accolades outside my home, but when I came home, I was just a normal, ordinary husband or dad, and I'd be like, okay, well, I just made a lot of money.
And you don't recognize me.
You don't recognize me, and that would make me angry, obviously. And they were like, you know, we're not gonna, you're not our king. You just be a king outside there.
But here you're just a booty fellow, yeah.
Yeah, and don't forget that I married at 24, 25. My daughter today is 32 years old. And so I married young, which I don't recommend. I married somebody who was exactly my age, which I don't recommend. You know, am I discouraging you from?
No, leave them alone. Leave them alone.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, I married too quickly, too fast. So there are all these factors. So yeah, there's a casualty. Something is going to suffer because ideally you want to spend enough time with your children. You know.
Who are these people?
So yeah, this is current day. My daughter, myself, and my son. This was a couple of years ago. They were visiting me in Kenya, this is when I was in very bad shape as far as drinking, and they were very concerned. So they came to see me, you know, because they knew that I was drinking heavily.
We could have to take a break shortly, because that's what I think we should do. But before that, I'd like you to take us to the land of milk and honey, when your dealerships are thriving, and you're up there, at the very top of American society. Take us there.
Well, I mean, for me, you know, I think after I started, you know, I was in the media quite a bit, you know, with my success, and whether you like it or not, it somehow goes into your head. I met every celebrity. You know, Atlanta came into being right when I was also coming into being. So I built the biggest house on West Paces Ferry, which is Billionaires Row. I was the only black person there. To this day, you know, still the only, the nicest house, the biggest, whatever.
Who's this?
That's Kamala Harris. When she was
Kamala Harris, like this.
Yeah, Kamala Harris. Yeah.
The lady who was
yeah.
to be president, but
I met everybody. I used to hang out with Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. I met him a couple of times, but these are, you know, it's funny, sometimes you don't think to take pictures with people, but there's a collage of some other photos. And even in Kenya, I met President Moi, that's Kenny Rogers. He was my neighbor. His kids used to go to school across the street, and so when you drop off his kids at school, he'd knock on my gate.
Like this, knock, knock, knock?
No, I mean, he'd press a gate, and then I would remotely open the gate. He'd come in and I'd cook breakfast for him.
Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers.
Not dropping names, but
no,
just Kenny Rogers. Yes, yes.
I even
yes.
tried to get him to come to Kenya. I even had him talk on Jeff Koinange Live, country show. He was a very good friend, and that's Tyler Perry. He was my neighbor also. Very good friend, very nice guy. And actually, when he was building that house, I was building mine. So he used to come to my house, and I used to go to his house to compare notes. Mine was 20,000 square feet. His was 32,000, but very similar. Actually, the people who were doing some of his work were doing my work. It's funny. I built a movie theater in my house, and he told me, his own words. He told me that my movie theater was better than his. So you know.
Okay.
And that's George Lopez, a comedian. I think there's a bunch of them. I don't know who's controlling
So
that.
really the point you're making, David, is that out of just sheer hard work on your part, bit of luck here and there.
Of course, yeah.
You reached where other Kenyans don't, generally speaking. Yeah.
And actually, let me say this. Sometimes when you're running a marathon, if you're Eliud Kipchoge, and I was always competing with myself and my age mates. I was always competing with them. I would look back and there was nobody behind me. And unfortunately, when that happens to you, you start slowing down. Instead of keeping the pace, I started slowing down. And especially when I got to 45, I was like, so, I mean, why am I running so fast? And I keep looking behind me. I'm not seeing
nobody.
anybody.
Oh, look, that's a good old man.
Yep. That,
what was the guy doing there?
We were at Safari Park Hotel, and you know, I got to meet him so many times because whenever he'd come to New York, I'd go visit him. So he used to call me not by my name; he used to call me New York. And New York, because every time he sees me, we're in New York. So I've got a bunch of pictures from him. He also gave me MBS, Moran of the Burning Spear. He awarded me with that, and so we were good friends. And so was President Moi. So was President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Oh, is that Mzee Moi?
That's Mzee Moi at
Where is that?
Kabarak, at his home in Kabarak.
Wow.
We used to have long conversations. In fact, I was very, very good friends with him before I even met his son.
Like Gideon?
Yeah.
Look, this is causing me a little bit of dizziness, all right? Because you're dropping name after name after name.
Sorry, don't mean to do that.
Yeah. This is good
That's
old
me
Gideon.
building the Rungu ya Mzee.
Oh, my goodness me.
That's Rungu ya Mzee.
I could say shame on you.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, it was with permission.
With permission. Yeah, that's good old
By the way, when
Gideon.
Mzee was alive,
Yeah.
I asked him one time if I could hold it. He said no.
You can't touch
So
it.
I had to wait until, until he passed away.
Let's do this. Mzee Moi is gone.
Yes.
I know for sure he's in heaven.
Absolutely.
Kibaki is probably also in heaven.
Absolutely.
Compare the two gentlemen that you knew well. What did you so admire about Mzee Moi?
Mzee Moi, I admired him so much because he was a listener. People imagine that, you know, whenever you meet Mzee Moi, he's going to be doing all the talking. He was extremely quiet. He would listen. He wanted to know so much about America. And, you know, I've got
This is a typical question he would have asked you in America, or wherever you were, in Kabarak.
Okay, this one was funny. He said one time, and I hope I don't ruin his accent, I said, Sasa, unajua ile naitwa Andrew Young? I said, yeah, you know, he's my neighbor in Atlanta. Unajua ule Jesse Jackson? I said, yeah, you know, I've met him many times. Wako na pesa?
Wako na pesa?
Wako na pesa?
Wako na pesa?
And then, you know, and then when I said no, they're just ordinary people.
Yeah, no
he
money.
laughed so hard and he lift up his leg.
Oh my goodness me.
So he liked laughter. He liked stories.
Yeah.
He liked stories. He would tell. He actually, looking back, he used to ask more questions than whatever. And he was also a very shy man when not in politics. Because sometimes I'd look at him and on TV and I said, "Is this the same man I was with yesterday?"
Yeah.
And we were very good friends. I bought him a tie. He wore it on TV, and I saw him wear the next Sunday on TV. I gave him videos about Joel Osteen, and he eventually loved that a lot. So we're very, very good friends.
Okay, good. Tell us about Mr. Kibaki.
Mr. Kibaki, he was, I think, the strangest human being I've ever met. Again, he never said anything, because you think he's a politician, he talks a lot. Whenever I would be with him one-on-one, I would do all the talking. And then he goes, and then when you capture a subject he likes, then he would sit up, but he never, in fact, I remember, there's one story I remember, and he was so nice to me. In fact, I've got a picture of me and him and Raila Odinga, he had this old man come from State House, and he told me that this man was the one who used to lend him a bicycle when he was growing up. And you see this mzee, he's a nice old mzee, very quiet guy.
Another guy.
Yeah. And
okay.
Kibaki just never, he was so mysterious to me. I met him many times, but I remember one time I was with him at Muthaiga Country Club. I felt somebody hit my shoulder, so I looked and oh my God, it's him. So then, I thought, so we talked, there was a bunch of people, Mr. Kirene, Mr. Ngoge, P.S. Ngoge.
Oh, that's the one. What did you tell him, that man?
Oh, that's my friend Raila.
What did you tell him?
I can't remember. That's my wife in the background.
Yeah.
We're very good friends also with him. We're still very good friends.
Secret.
Yeah, he was Prime Minister here.
Let me tell you where I'm going
okay.
with these questions. We've seen your house in Augusta. We've seen the rich and famous. We've seen you with the powerful people in this country. We know you know Clinton and so on. Give us a sense of the dizziness that one feels in the stratosphere that you're living in at the time. What happens to your mind when one phone call you can get president, whatever it is, Kamala Harris, Augusta golf course is there. What goes on to the mind of a young man?
I think because I got my success very early, I've never been fearful of all these people that we're talking about. I think that's what they like about me, because I don't go asking them for any favors. I'm not, shaking when I meet them. I'm not nervous. We talk to each other like human beings. We rarely talk politics. Once in a while, Mzee Moi and I would talk politics.
Oh, look, that's Kofi.
Yeah, that's Kofi Annan. I met him and, interesting guy.
So the point is made. How does it feel for a Kenyan boy from the back of beyond mixing and mingling at that level?
I think that's what led to my depression, because I was standing on my own Mount Kenya and I'm looking around and I say, what is there else to do? Because I would
mention Mount Kenya with caution.
I mean, my own
Mount Kenya is a political concept.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
but go on.
Mount Everest.
No, you're Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
Yes, go on.
So my point is, and I would talk to these people. Sometimes I would forget who I was talking to, because I remember one time I was talking to President Moi and we took pictures, and I said, Your Excellency, we didn't take pictures with Yerungu. Can you go get it? And my mom looked at me, she said, are you nuts?
Yeah.
You're telling a whole president to go get his rungu.
Yeah.
And even Bill Clinton, I also, President Uhuru Kenyatta, I put my arm around him and I was taking a selfie, and one of his aides said, the president does not take selfies.
No.
And President Uhuru said, no, it's okay. So, I mean,
So really, the coldest place in Kenya, I'm told, is at the very top of Mount Kenya. So tell us about the cold, metaphorically speaking, that started attacking you from the very top of the mountain.
Well, when you're at that level, you don't have any peers, especially your age mates, because most of my friends, as you can see, are older than me. And so, in order to socialize, sorry to say this, it's kind of like you withholding who you are so that you can fit in with everybody else.
I want you just to say that again. You create a false persona
lower than you really are.
Lower than you are, so that you can fit
in
with the hoi polloi of America.
Because, for example, I'd go sit, I'd be talking to somebody and I'd say, you know, I just took a chopper ride and I was with so and so, and then they think
showing off.
You're showing off.
Yes.
But that's my daily life.
Yeah. Taking the chopper to wherever,
you know, and to meet whoever, and that kind of leads to isolation and loneliness, because now you're thinking that, you know, everybody's thinking that you're showing off, but that's my life, that's my daily life, you know. And so, you know, it kind of, isolation leads to loneliness, and loneliness can lead to alcoholism.
It's fascinating. Yeah. Is that your chopper?
No, this is in Orlando. This was a rented chopper. No, I owned airplanes, but not a chopper.
No, you're careful with what you say.
Oh, sorry.
Don't say I owned aeroplanes and then you're just looking away. Tell us what it's like to own aeroplanes. Not one, but aeroplanes.
Yeah, I owned several. These were jets. You know, actually, I even bought my wife a Cirrus airplane just so that she could have something to do. Just go, you know. No, again, I used to hang out with.
What is this?
This is my private jet.
This is your private jet?
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people, and I won't drop names this time, they rode in this airplane. So dignitaries would come from Kenya, and they would ask to go on
your plane.
Yeah, and I would give them. Sometimes I wouldn't even have to be with them. They would just take it and go everywhere. And then when I come to Kenya, they'd let me use their choppers. So
okay.
It was kind of. But no, it was. I don't know how to say it. It was just normal for me. When you hang out with wazungus, or even people that are at your level, income-wise, you do great things. But then when you start wanting to hang out with people just
with real people,
then now you start. When I lived in Augusta with wazungus, primarily, my life used to, like every year, I would double, triple my wealth every year. When I went to Atlanta, I had to. Atlanta is more. It's a huge city.
What is this?
This is on a yacht on vacation.
Somewhere,
Key West, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you hang out with people that are all rich and all successful,
then you're people like us.
But now if you take yourself to your village, and now you're the biggest deal in your village, you don't push yourself as much.
So anyway, so let's just get this one clear, because we must stop this part of the story. At one point in time, according to those who know, you are one of the wealthiest, say it? What?
Actually, some people used to say, you know, outside of Kenya, we're the wealthiest outside of Kenya.
You're the wealthiest Kenyan?
Outside of Kenya.
Outside of Kenya.
Yeah.
Okay. And yet, of your own admission, the coldest.
Yeah, yeah.
The saddest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask that we stop there, just for a few minutes. I need to catch my breath.
It's okay.
To try and get around how that which most people go looking for, which is America, which is fame, which is fortune, which is yachts, which is presidents, and so on. After achieving all those things and having them literally under your belt, depression struck.
Absolutely.
And that's why I wanted us to go in the next session, which is try to understand how the richest man in the whole area, with his own jets, not jets, yes, can get into this state of depression. Be back in a few minutes.
How long is the
Research indicates that 1 out of 4 Kenyans have a mental illness.
I have noted with extreme sadness and profound concern the recent rise in reported cases of suicides and homicides in the country, particularly femicides.
In 2019, President Uhuru Kenyatta set up a task force to look into the state of mental health in Kenya. The task force, led by renowned psychiatrist Dr. Frank Njenga, in its findings handed over to Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, revealed a country in desperate need of help. According to research and what the task force was told by Kenyans, mental and neurological disorders are common and widespread. It was clear that at least 25% of outpatients and health facilities in the country had a mental illness, and an estimated prevalence of psychosis stated as 1% of the general population. The common mental illnesses in Kenya are depression and suicide, substance use disorder, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and among other psychosis.
A heavy burden, low investment, high stigma. These were our key findings.
The crisis called for a deliberate attention with a focus on modern mental health treatment, and it is on this backdrop that 3 lead psychiatrists, members of the Royal College of Psychiatry, paused to draw a new roadmap to address the problem that was unknown to many 25 years ago. They saw the need of a specialized hospital focusing on mental health, to provide promotive and preventive mental health care service.
We decided that we shall start something that would supplement or complement what the government was offering. And that is where we came up that we shall start something for mental health services in this country in the private sector.
We had the perfect location, and before we did it, we benchmarked, we traveled, we went to Pretoria, went to Durban, went to Johannesburg to see how hospitals for mental health are built, especially a high-rise, to make sure that the safety measures are in place.
If that did not happen and we continued to really give lip service, as it were, to mental health issues, a lot of the social issues that we are facing, you hear of suicides, you hear of, family members killing each other, you hear of especially those sort of high stress professions.
Welcome to Chiromo Hostel Group. My name is Eva Swani.
And Chiromo Hospital Group is the fulfillment of that vision.
The type of service that is being offered here, we want it to be offered to every Kenyan. Yeah, that will make me happy.
When you hear about mental health and you see the places that people are treated, some may never even get well because they are put away, they are locked up.
By embedding the principle that the patient comes first and is at the center of everything that we do, we are at the front line.
We have well over 210 staff members working to provide dignified, quality mental health care.
Firmly anchored on the pillar of preventing mental illnesses and promotion of mental wellness, Chiromo Hospital Group offers a dignified quality mental health care service in Africa and beyond by adhering to evidence-based medicine. It is an ultra-modern specialized level 5 hospital with advanced technology. The hospital is standing in the gap as the leading mental health care hospital in the region to reduce the mental health burden. The state-of-the-art facility also serves the entire African continent in Nairobi with regular referrals in and out of Kenya. Chiromo Hospital Group strives to offer a dignified recovery through integrated programs targeted at getting the desired results.
The psychiatrists, the psychologists, and the psychiatric nurses, working together with well over 70 corporates, an increasing number of corporates out there, work to normalize the conversation on matters mental health. The stigma, the discrimination that has been so entrenched in mental health care can only be reversed when collaboratively we push this conversation in the normal social spaces.
The inpatient and outpatient mental health care programs are fully integrated with a multidisciplinary team of well-trained and qualified psychiatrists, psychologists, psychiatric nurses, counselors, spiritual leaders, pharmacists, and laboratory technicians, all under one roof, working to deliver quality outcome through face-to-face and telepsychiatry platforms.
We are focusing on promotive and preventive services as opposed to curative, which we do also provide here at the Chiromo Hospital Group. But our focus is shifting more towards what we call community psychiatry. And therefore that we have to be able to develop the acumen and the ability to diagnose mental health issues before they actually become illnesses.
All what we've done is unveil it and say, this is what has been hiding, this is the elephant in the room. Like, we're fighting communicable diseases, but hand in hand, mental health is equally affecting us in the same magnitude.
We want our clients to also have that benefit of nature. Even as we do the psychological intervention from outside, we want our clients to feel like they're just having a conversation, but at the same time, they are getting a treatment. Some would say they feel like they're in a hotel, so it takes away actually that feeling of I'm in a hospital.
The support of the management, they have really supported us, especially the lab. We are provided with state-of-the-art equipment. Timely results have also aided in the management of the patients.
We take pride in keeping the rooms clean and also issuing clean bedding to the patients. Because once a patient enters a room and it's well arranged, it's neatly arranged, it helps them in their recovery.
From the work that we have done, we've been also able to publish a case study on the use of social media to harness the mental health care gap in Kenya, and this paper was published in the Pan-African Medical Journal.
The silver lining, just like any other non-communicable diseases, is mental well-being can be promoted and mental illnesses are preventable.
Once in a while we have 1 or 2 cases where they are not able to pay, and sometimes we consider it as a social corporate responsibility.
Our 25-year legacy is based on the people. We've had staff who've been here since the inception of this great brand, the Chiromo Hospital Group. Over these years, they've worked tirelessly onboarding other team members.
Every unit at the facility works towards the recovery of our patients. With a consolidated 180-bed capacity, the hospital is driven by a core team of 38 psychiatrists, 54 psychologists, and a team of 171 multidisciplinary team members to deliver the following curative and mental wellness program. The treatment methods at the facility include outpatient services, detoxification, psychotherapy, addiction treatment, mental health program, art therapy, group therapy, family therapy, occupational therapy, and nursing care. We give our patients first-class treatment as we walk with them on the recovery journey. The hospital has 3 branches in Nairobi, 2 located along Mudhangari Road, Lavington, and 1 in Westlands, with 201 strong core team members working around the clock serving the mental health care space with utmost respect, honesty, and reliability. Chiromo Hospital Group is dedicated to make mental health care fashionable. The partners are proud to be associated with Chiromo Hospital Group, a leader in mental health.
Quality, affordable, and investments on the right place.
Chiromo Hospital Group serves Kenyan and international clients at individual and institutional levels, and many who had lost hope have a story to tell after their contact with Chiromo Hospital Group.
Chiromo Hospital Group built an environment in which the safety of our clients comes first, with their special needs.
One of the things that Chiromo did is it provided a safe space. The tagline is recovery with dignity, and it's easy to kind of overlook that, but for the time that I was here, and even the time when I left, I knew that there was a space where I could just be me.
Chiromo Hospital Group is rewriting the mental health care story in Kenya. At Chiromo Hospital Group, we say recover in dignity. Chiromo Hospital Group, tufunguke.
Welcome back. Very, very much welcome back. We're talking to you live from the Chiromo Hospital Group, Bustani branch, which is located in the Lavington area, number 37, Mudhangari Road in Lavington. Before we took the break, we were talking with our friend, David Karangu, who has really taken us through an incredible journey of birth in America, coming back to Kenya at an early age, going back to America as a teenager, washing dishes and refusing to clean up after the vomit of the American people, finding his way at the top of college in America, and finding his dream in dealership of cars. And as we are coming to the end of that first section, we found him in the company of the high and mighty at a global level, meeting with all the leaders. But also, as we have come down this route, we've also noticed at least 2, maybe 3 episodes of depression. The first one at the age of 14, which is useful for us to know because it helps us to debunk the supposition that teenagers don't suffer from depression. And then another episode at the age of 22, as he says, he had achieved everything there was to achieve at the age of 22. And behind him, there was nobody running after him. So a phone call stopped him from blowing up his brains. Would have been the poorer for it had that call not come through. And then we've kind of fast forwarded after flying into 1 or 2 of his jets, enjoying a couple of yachts, moving here and there in little, sometimes big choppers, and really literally living the high life, the kind of life that is the dream of every Kenyan who really wants to go to America or Australia or England, wherever it is. But what we then found is what I think the holy book of Ecclesiastes says: it's all folly. It's nothing. It's to the lay observer, it's everything. But in your particular case, David, it's all but. Take us through the emptiness.
So typically, I think what I've gone through is this. You want something so bad, and then when you achieve it, it's not what you. Don't get me wrong. First of all, let me clarify one thing. I define success as being able to do whatever you want with your life. So, for example, my mom was a nurse and a hospital matron. I consider her to be successful because she wanted to be a nurse since she was 18 years old. My dad, I would say, was successful because all he ever wanted with that education is to become a college professor. For me, I wanted money. And I'll tell the kids out there, if you want money, ask God for money. Don't beat around the bush. This is what I want.
Say, God, give me chumps.
Yeah, you
like
know,
that.
Just tell him that.
Money. Yeah, money.
And money is great, and I've never bashed money. It's what you do with the money. It's what you know. I would buy airplanes or I'd buy whatever to make myself feel good. But really what happened was all my insecurities were tied to those things. So whenever those things didn't make me feel good, I was unhappy. Because I was working so hard. And again, I didn't grow up in poverty, but I wanted more money than anybody that I ever met. But by buying those things, instead of my heart being clean and wanting to live a good, clean life, I wanted to acquire those things just for the sake of acquiring, just to keep score. But you find that when you do that, you're still not happy. You know, and where the alcohol comes in is you want to be popular with your friends, or actually most of my drinking was privately because now, one thing I didn't mention is at the age of 40 I sold my dealerships, and then I stayed out for the business for 2 or 3 years, and I went back into it because I didn't know or like anything else, and I was not good at anything else, which is another thing. People think because you're a good businessman in real estate that you can be a good person, a good businessman in something else. Usually it doesn't transfer. So, but in business I've always been blessed, but it's the inner child that's still injured, bruised, that would try and cover it up with all these material things or wanting to meet the high and mighty. And then when you find out that they're just regular human beings like you, they're no longer giving you the satisfaction. And so alcohol temporarily gives you that relief, that escape. And actually, believe it or not, when I was here at this hospital, what I realized is, and it was shocking to me, everything, my alcoholism in my 40s came down to my dad. That dad that was I was not born with him, not raised by him, met him in college. We had a cordial relationship, never had words. But I had some anger issues with him. And we never had a confrontation. And I found it to be ironical because, you know, I looked at my inventory of my life. I looked at my ex-wife, you know, whatever happened. I looked at my children, I looked at my mom, you know, it came down to my dad.
Just, let's get this one clear. When you came into this hospital, you were here for what, 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
You sat in that room and literally took stock.
Yes.
And said, this is my life.
Yeah.
And this is what I am going to change.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, we're where we are today.
Yeah.
But I want to go back a little bit to this almost primitive accumulation of money, not wealth, just money. From just hearing your description of it, it sounds as though getting cash, money into when it goes into your bank account, is a bit like an addiction of sorts.
Yeah.
Take us through the addiction of making money.
Well, because what it would be is every year I would look at my net worth. My accountant would come sit with me and tell me what my net worth is. and I would say I want to double it next year.
So they'd say you're $5 million, and you say 10.
10.
Okay.
So now I would do everything it would take. I mean, legitimately, cleanly. That's one thing I'm very, very proud of, and that's one thing everybody says about me. My ethics in business are above board. I mean, never.
How do you double wealth in car dealership every year? How is that done?
If you're good at something and you love what you do, that's the key. If you don't love what you do, you
Forget
can work
it.
hard, you know, it's not going to happen. But because, for example, the best example I'll give you is I had 2 Ford dealerships, which are, you know, great, profitable dealerships, but there were only 300 Mercedes-Benz dealers in the whole of the United States. And I wanted to be there were 4 black dealers who had been awarded that. They were not going to award me because of my accent, because I'm African, and I was also very young. Nobody was going to listen to me. So I put together a plan to buy a Mercedes dealership, and I became one of 5, and the only African, because even the ones in Africa are not owned by Africans. The ones in Egypt or even Kenya, they're not owned by Africans. I decided that's what I wanted to do. And I put together a plan, knowing that I didn't have the money to do it. But human beings, if you love what you do, you have the capacity to see things that you were not seeing before. I stopped seeing, one thing that helped me in the United States is I never saw myself as black or as African or anything. I was just a regular person. Now, did I take advantage of programs that would be there for black people? Of course. You know, I mean, if there was a loan program, I would take advantage of it. But I didn't think like everybody else. I wanted to push myself further. So I ended up buying a Mercedes dealership, not being awarded. I went and bought it and took loans and paid people off. Not paid people off. I mean, I finished paying the loan.
Yeah, sure.
Right, beginning.
All right, good.
You know, there's a big difference.
We only do that here.
We only do that here.
Yeah, go on.
And you know, and then the next year I bought a BMW dealership, and so
BMW, Mercedes.
Yeah, and nobody in the US, you either have this one or the other one. I had
You had both.
Yeah, and so just always pushing myself, and things seem to work well for me.
What I'm trying to understand, because I'm not sure I do, is money and wealth, just money, became almost an end unto itself. And there was no point at which you could say $15 million is good enough.
Never, never. In fact, I always used to say to myself, if I was born white, I'd be a dollar billionaire today.
Billionaire?
Yeah, I really believe that, and I know that, and I know that. I didn't go to Harvard and so on and so forth. And actually, if I had not been drinking those years in my 40s, mid-40s to now, until 2 years ago, I would be that. Alcohol ruined everything. There's no doubt about it.
We'll come to alcohol spoiling things in just a moment. But I'm trying to create, if you like, a similarity or a relationship between the high you get from alcohol or whatever drug you take, and the high that you get when you look at your bank account, another million has hit your account. Take us through that high.
It's funny because for me, by the way, I've never seen more than $100,000 in cash.
No.
I've never, you know. For me, it was just to be the first black, the first African, the first whatever. It would give me a high, and I knew I was good at it, and it didn't matter what else. In other words, I didn't care about anything else as much. I worshipped money.
Say that again?
I worshipped money.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
What does it feel like? Some people worship Mount Kenya. Tell us about worshipping money. What is that?
Worshipping, worshipping money is, for example, like you said, I could pick up the phone or just look at my phone and say, I can call this president, this president, this president. I can call anybody. I can call whoever. so-and-so was at my house. It's the inner child. That's what I wanted, because, like I said, I went to school with children of ministers, and I envied that life. So it's, again, trying to fulfill what you was lacking as a child. Being called a bastard, that one hurt. And so what I'm saying is, when you're trying to cover up bad feelings that you've had from your past, you'll do so many things with, to acquire money. Then when you acquire the money, that word, the bastard or whatever, it's
still following you.
It follows you. And then now you start hating the money. Over the years, I gave away a lot of money, to even to strangers, especially when I was drinking. I'd be so angry about something, and a waiter or a stranger would pass by, and I'd go, here's $10,000.
Just go.
I don't even know you. I don't even want to know you. Women would say, can I give you my number? No, that's not what I want. It was just like you. We talked about. You know, I came to Kenya to die. I was giving money away intentionally.
Some people online are thinking, I wish I'd met this.
And some people who were online in Kenya, they thought I was an idiot because I was giving money away, including my relatives. But it was this thing that was not making me happy. I don't even want it.
Okay. I was going to call you bastard kid, but I will not do that. So really, the search for money was two things. One is to delete bastard title. And secondly, is to live the life of the sons of cabinet ministers, who went to school with you. You want to tell us the school?
Nairobi Primary School.
Nairobi Primary School. I know one or two fellows who are your classmates. Yes? Okay. And then, once you reached the top and could give money all over the place, you realized money, well, tell us, what did you realize?
I realized that, for example, today, I don't care what car people see me driving in, what house I live in, whether how I fly or what I do. People sometimes remind me of my past. I don't care. I'm at the happiest that I've ever been because I'm so chill. Like, for example, my mom, the other day, there was a flood in her kitchen, and I said, we'll call a fundi, and she says, no, but can you see? My mom is 90 years old. She says, why don't you ever get worked up about anything? I don't. I don't get worked up about anything, and that's the happiest I've ever been in my life.
You're welcome to say thanks to the Chiromo Hospital Group.
Thank you, Chiromo Hospital. And let me talk about my stay here. So the first week I was here, I had to go through getting the toxins out of my body, so I had IV fluids and all that. And that was extremely rough, getting all that out. And I think that lasted 4 days. Then the next week was being angry. Angry at myself, angry at everybody else. I knew I had a problem. That's one thing I admitted. I have a serious drinking problem. But the last week I was here, what I did was I took an inventory of everybody in my life. Whether it's siblings, whatever, children, whatever, and I only have 2, so,
girlfriends,
everybody. And I said, okay, in order for me to change my life and to never drink again, there are people that I know I have to get rid of.
In this long list?
In this long list. And actually, for me, it was 2/3.
2/3 of the people?
2/3 of the people were toxic. And then I decided, okay, I'm only going to expose myself to positive things. So today, nowadays, I don't watch any movies that are violent. I don't listen to any thing that is negative. If I see an accident on the side of the road, I keep looking forward, I move forward. If I have an option to drive through a rough neighborhood or drive through Tigoni, I drive through Tigoni. So just keeping myself positive. Sorry to say this, but if you're always coming to me as a friend with all your negativity, I don't want it. whenever I hang out with people who drink, we start out with, we eat. Once I'm done eating, I let them be. I'm not jealous that they stayed up until 4 a.m. having a good time. Just positivity. And so people ask me sometimes, how come you're able to sit down with people that are drinking and you can smell the alcohol? And, when I left rehab, for good 3 months, I could not smell alcohol. Even now, sanitizer would trigger me. But because I decided that I wanted to live, it's now easy. People think it's willpower. It's not willpower. People tell me, oh, you're so strong. No, it's because I want to live.
You have a purpose.
I have a purpose.
Let's go back to the days when you lost purpose. You don't have to tell us what you are worth, because we know it was a lot. I want us to start picturing the top of the mountain and looking on the other side and seeing nothing. What happened the day that you realized you are at the top, and it means, take us through that.
I think for me, it's hard to answer that question, because somebody who's 30 years old, now that I have a 32-year-old daughter, it's a child. I'm saying I can't answer that question because I was always rich, because I was rich at 30. It's been my whole adult life. It's been normal for me. So I never once, because for example, I would go to, in a private jet, I'd go to an airport, you'd see everybody there was famous, as actors, athletes, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. I can't even tell you. In fact, the first time I met Bill Clinton was in a private airport lounge, and so on, and all these people that you see on TV. It's all,
I'll ask you the same question differently.
Okay.
There has to be a point when the decline started. Tell us about the point at which things started going down.
I think it was...
hey, look, what's that? There.
Oh, yeah, that's my drinking. That's when I was seriously drinking.
Where is that?
In a bar in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't even like wearing hats. Somebody put a hat on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh yeah, the answer would be this. When I sold my dealerships, I realized one thing. I sold them at 40, I sold them again at 45, sold them again at 47 or 48. The day you either retire or quit your job or sell your company, you realize that if you had 100 friends, 80 of them were related to your profession or work or whatever, the phone stops ringing. And I've heard cabinet secretaries in Kenya or people say that here. Literally, because when you're doing things, your phone is ringing, you're busy. The day you sell your company, which happened to me, my phone is not ringing. I'm checking my phone. I'm calling somebody to say, is my phone working?
Why aren't you calling me?
Yeah, why aren't you calling me?
Yeah.
So people I used to play golf with, the reason they were playing golf with me is because I'm their client. So now that I'm not bringing them money, they have no time for me. Or, in my another example is when you get a divorce, either your wife takes half of your friends or all of them, or you split them, or...
How many did she take?
Most of them.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, when you lose purpose, when you lose your everyday career, you lose all your friends, you lose all your connections. Even, for example, the people that you go to dinner with or whatever.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Where is that?
This is in Atlanta somewhere.
Okay, go on.
You lose, and once you lose your network, then you start drinking at home by yourself, because nobody wants to spend time with you. Because before you had purpose, meaning to them. Even today, when you look at, if your friends know that you're not going to lend them money, you're going to lose half your friends. If they know for sure this guy is not...
Look, this is heavy-duty stuff. Eh?
It's the truth.
You're telling me all my many friends are transactional in nature?
If you retire today...
Yes.
Even these people in this room that are talking, that call you...
These ones?
They're gone. They have no reason to call you.
Go on down.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I mean, it happened to me.
Tell us more. I mean, because go on, tell us more.
So, for example, when I sold my...
Who are these people?
This is Nelson Gidenji. He was the head of...
oh, of course, Gidenji.
Yeah, the head of National Youth Service.
Yeah.
I knew him when he was at State House, so we became friends. We're still friends.
Okay.
So he's my golf buddy.
Okay.
And I think here there was Zungus. We must have been in Atlanta.
Atlanta, probably.
Yeah.
On a golf course.
Yes.
But so you're saying that all these people here,
everybody is...
all of them, all these ones.
All of them. They're your friend because there's something, you have a transactional relationship. When it ends, there are few that will remain, but they don't need you for that. And then when you call them, you want to talk for an hour.
Because you have nothing else to do.
They have nothing else to do. Then they're like,
and they're busy.
Dr. Jenga is calling me, this is going to be a 1 hour thing.
I don't want it.
Yeah. And that creates depression, that creates isolation. And so if you, and you can only play so much golf. Because as human beings, especially if you're hardworking and ambitious, when you lose that one thing that you're good at, for me, the one good thing I was good at was my career. So when I lost that, I realized I lost all purpose.
So let me see if I understand you. Millions upon millions of dollars in the bank. You've sold all the dealerships.
Now even real cash.
Just cash.
Cash.
Just cash in the bank.
Cash.
Lots of cash in the bank. But you call people and they say, maybe not. So really, it's not the cash that buys the friendship. It's the transaction.
Exactly.
Tell us more about transaction.
So for example, in my case, the people I play golf with was my bankers.
Your bankers?
My bankers,
yes.
My lawyers, my accountants, the people that I buy advertising from. So the banker, now you've got all this money, you're not transacting a lot, so you just put it in a money market or the stock market. So there's no,
They don't need you?
Yeah, and also if that's where you were taking your deposits for the dealership, now that you're not, he has no reason to talk to you. The accountant, your accountant because mainly is the accountant because of the business, not because of personal, because it's all tied in. So when you sell your dealership, your accountant is not going to...
So no golf games?
Not even lunch, no dinner, nothing.
No invitation to the club?
Even his wife stops talking to your wife.
Oh my goodness.
Because we don't need them. Now whoever replaces you, they want to be friends with them. So it becomes very...
We're going to come to a Q&A in a little while.
Okay.
Because I really, because one or two people here, I know are really looking to be very rich.
Absolutely.
So what you're telling them, even those ones online, what you're telling them is don't bother, because your wife will have no friends. After it's all gone, you have nobody to play golf with. Even your accountant will run away.
They have no reason to talk.
What about these other fellows, priests and...
even them, you used to...
The priests?
Yeah, the priests. You're not donating money because the reason you were donating money is because you were a sponsor, you were sponsoring something, and now that you're not,
they don't care for you. Even priests?
Even priests, it happened to me.
Who literally in the world, therefore, is worth having as a friend?
Your mother.
Your mother?
And your children.
Please make notes.
Your mother, my mother, I tell my mom, I'm the best pride that she's ever been proud of. I've taken my mom to the highest. My mom lived with me in the United States, for 25 years. She just came back to Kenya in November last year. So if the pictures were to show it.
Show some pictures of this.
I've carried my mom my whole journey. So throughout my success, she's been there along with me.
There she is.
Yep, that's my mom.
Where is that?
That's at her house in Atlanta.
Her house?
Yeah. And she drove Mercedes the whole time she lived in America.
Out of interest, which make?
The C-Class, because she's an old lady. She wants a small car.
Yes.
But I've also been her biggest disappointment.
Okay.
So I would give my mom those highs of being receiving, being received and well-treated VIP, and then with my drinking, she was she was more depressed than anybody.
Now that's a bit confusing because you are simultaneously her greatest pride
and her greatest disappointment. By far.
How does that work?
It's alcohol will even take that away. The love that I have for my mom. Everybody in my family knows that my mom, I love my mom dearly. Even my children the other day asked me, Dad, why did you send your own mother Valentine's flowers? I said, you know, that's my first love.
Yeah.
You know, and but alcohol will make you disappoint you, the person that you love the most, and it did for me. Alcohol is unbelievable.
Okay. So take us through the journey. You're drinking in the golf courses, you're drinking with friends. They've all vanished, a mountain of money in the bank, and you're drinking alone.
In the house, yeah.
Tell us about that.
So I'd wake up in the morning and I wasn't, I'd be hungover, and then I realized to cure a hangover, what you need is another drink. And so the first drink by 8
like in the morning.
8 o'clock in the morning, I have my drink before even having breakfast. So then I feel okay. Now I'm not shaking, I'm not feeling nauseated, you know, I'm feeling okay. Then by 11, I'm now, you know, that alcohol is kicking into the veins. So I'm like, okay, I'll take just a little bit. Just a little bit of
cognac.
So now I'm drinking more, and then because it's flowing, I'm loving it. So then at 3 o'clock, I'd be like, okay, let me take a break. Let me take a nap. I sleep until 5 p.m. My friends are now coming from work, the ones that have jobs.
In the meantime, the mountain of money is in the bank.
Oh yeah, it's not going anywhere.
Big mountain.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So, you know, I go hang out with them. Already in my system, I've got a whole bottle of Hennessy, already at 5 o'clock. I'm going to...
At 7:50?
Yeah, yeah. So then I drink with them. So now, if they see me acting drunk, they're like, this guy just had a little bit of alcohol.
What's wrong with him?
Yeah, they don't know that I have a whole bottle in me. And it becomes more and more. So per day, I would drink 2 bottles of Hennessy per day.
And the mountain in the bank.
The money is there. You know, in fact, I resent it because it's not making me feel good.
It's a matter of some interest, and some of the people watching are medical people, psychologists and psychiatrists and so on. Were you clinically depressed at the time?
Because I have nothing better to, I have nothing to do. I have no purpose in life.
No purpose in life.
Because now, people would say, why don't you go on vacation? I'm like, where haven't I been?
Yeah.
Why don't you buy this? I have 2 of them. Why don't you get another girlfriend or whatever? You know, whatever.
So the only tiny thing you didn't have was purpose. You didn't have purpose.
Zero.
Zero purpose.
And then I look and see, you know, then I say, okay, well, my mom is all set, you know, my whatever. My dad, before he died, I made sure that he was comfortable. I paid all his debts. I did everything for him. My siblings, you know, whoever asked me for money, I helped them. I'm like, well, what am I doing on this earth? You know, nothing was making me happy. And again, it, if you have a wound from your childhood, you better treat it, deal with it. And one thing I want to talk about, and the main reason I came to talk here today is because I went to high school with 80 students. We graduated 80 of us in 2 classes. Out of the 80, I'm told there's more than half have died.
Completely dead.
Completely dead.
Yeah.
More than half of those, it's alcohol. More than half. And then, unfortunately, it's now translated. In fact, the reason you called me on February 11th was because a lot of people in the diaspora, and even here, are losing their children to alcohol. And so, the reason I'm talking about all this is so that people understand this problem you know, has been going on forever. It's more exacerbated now. Our children are depressed at 14. They're going to be depressed at 22, even with all these gadgets and everything else that they have. In fact, those gadgets make them more depressed. So I'm saying that the problem with, the reason some of us, my age mates, were not alcoholics early is because we had no money. Now that we are older, we have money, we can afford to drink and so on. I tell people that people drink for 2 reasons, time and money. If you have time and you have a little bit of money, you will drink. And especially if you don't have a purpose in life. the people that I want to save more than anything else is our teenagers and our young adults all the way to 35, 40, whatever.
What are some, I mean, look at that camera there. What are some of the special problems that affect or afflict young people in the diaspora? You've been one of them. What is bothering now?
So typically the kids that have the most depression are the ones, not the ones who are born in the US. It's the ones that their parents get a green card and they go there, let's say they're 9 years old, and then they move to the US or whatever, and they go to a school. The kids in the American school system, which most people go, 90% of people go to public schools, these kids are going to be bullied, and they're not going to tell you they're being bullied. And then they don't feel American, they don't feel African. Because when they come to visit Kenya in December, they're being treated like they're wazungus, you know, they're tourists in their ushago and everything else. So they don't feel Kenyan, they're not accepted in America. Depression starts there. We've had so many kids in the US, in the diaspora, commit suicide or show signs of depression or even refuse to, you know, and the parents don't know what's going on. So
it's as though these kids are getting caught up in a crack.
Yeah.
Because in America, they have what some people call a Muranga accent.
Exactly.
Yes. And when they come back to wherever they live,
they're not accepted here either.
They have an American accent.
They're not accepted.
So they're not anywhere.
They're not anywhere. And so that's a problem. And then also, a lot of these kids, because the parents are working so hard, the parents are not in the house. And so they're being, the kids are always by themselves. And what did I say about time and money? If they have the time, they'll do drugs. If they have the money, they'll do alcohol.
At the very end of this program, you must remind me to ask you what we should really do because of this crisis. Because
and it's very serious.
It's a very serious problem. And I think there may be one or two people in the diaspora who are either watching us live or will watch us later. But I think the question I will ask you towards the end is, if you are to advise a young couple with 9-year-old children who have just won a green card, what should they do? Just hold on to that. We have a studio audience, and we're happy to take questions. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Joseph? And tell us your name is studio audience.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Joseph. Thank you very much for having us here today. And this is a very inspirational story. My question would be, you've been to be through everything that anyone can be through, and you've been trying to search for a purpose. As of this afternoon, what would you qualify as the ultimate purpose for you?
Ultimate purpose for you, David?
You know, like what I'm doing here, talking about something that I've gone through and knowing that a lot of people are going to benefit from hearing what I'm saying. And also for me, you know, I've got a software company that I'm running here in Kenya. You know, I'll never want to retire, ever, ever. You know, I'll go from my office to the grave, but never to retire. And also giving back, you know, so that, you know, having something to do is extremely important. Yeah.
So your purpose is to do good?
Yeah, to do good and, you know.
And to give back to society?
Absolutely. And to still make money. I still love making money.
Yeah, but there's still enough.
Yeah,
all right,
never enough.
Good. All right, any other question? Yes, sister?
We really appreciate the fact that you've decided to come and speak to us. And I believe we have...
tell us who you are, what you do here.
Evelyn Araka. I'm the nurse in charge of this facility, Bustani. So I would like maybe you enlighten us a bit. At what point did you really feel you needed help? So that if there is someone at home or listening, or someone who might watch this later, they can be able to make a decision. Because you said that it's someone, a friend, who prompted you to make the decision. Those who are suffering, at what point then should they know that at this point I think I need to change my habits? Thank you.
Yeah, so the way I would answer that is to say that, you know, everybody, sometimes people say, oh, when you reach rock bottom, is when you'll stop drinking and do something about it. I think it's more of something has to happen. I lost 3 siblings in 1 year. They died for different reasons in 2021. That should have stopped me from drinking. I lost friends. I lost friends because of my drinking. That didn't stop me. I hate to sound like this, but the day you get on your knees and pray to God and say, God, help me, I have a problem, hopefully that will, and you can't force somebody to want that for themselves. And like I said, this depression that I'm talking about starts in childhood, is what I'm trying to say. And if you want to understand your child, go back to their childhood, ask them what happened. Was it something that happened? Were they abused physically, emotionally? What happened? People drink because they're damaged, and they're busy their whole. Okay,
people drink because they are damaged.
Yes.
Say it again.
People drink because they're damaged.
Proceed.
Yeah, that's why. And it doesn't mean that everybody who's damaged is going to drink. No. Also, there's a factor with I think there's an alcoholic gene or something. So if your parents were heavy drinkers, my mom was not, but my dad a little bit, you're more likely to be, that. And sometimes people, honestly, people don't know why they're drinking. You'll tell people, look, you just had a car accident. Why don't you stop drinking? That won't stop them, okay? So I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I think it's when you decide that you want to live, because like, for example, I have a grandchild. Why was I drinking and I want to see this child grow up and, do great things, and I want to watch her do that? So I go back to, if you decide you want to live, then I think you'll be, that's the start.
Any other question? Yes? Tell us your name and what you do.
Hello everyone, my name is Brilliant Mumanyi and I'm a counseling psychologist here at Bustani. My first question, you talked about the rehab that you attended in America and it was full of mattresses and everything. I wanted to know when Dr. Njenga asked you how different is it from what you experienced here and when you were there, do you have like different levels of mental health facilities in US? That's my first question. Sorry, I feel I'm kind of nervous. The second question, you talked about cleaning after somebody who had vomited. Is it the same situation currently in US? And my final question is, you talked of you were rich, famous, and your family was not recognizing you the way the other people externally were recognizing you. So where do we strike the balance between success and family? And do you think family is important? Thank you so much.
Well done. Okay, many questions.
Yeah, let me start with the family. If I have any regrets, and I don't think of my life with any regrets, because nobody has the answers, and it's not like you're given a clear choice of what is right and wrong, and then you make I would regret it if I knew that I was doing something wrong and I did it. But the one regret that I have is that today, my kids don't see, we're not a family. We're still a family. We have a WhatsApp group, me, my 2 kids, and my ex-wife, but it's not the same. We don't live in the same house. I have that regret. And I wish I had spent more time wanting to be a better husband. One of the things that I did wrong is I was always one of these guys that, if you're not happy, so you go. And obviously that... No. Yeah, you're not happy.
Yeah, when money is here, we can get another one.
So that's a big regret. You asked about the facilities in the US. We even have facilities where you're in Malibu, in California, there's the ocean there. But they still treat you like you've done something wrong. They still treat you, they put you in these groups and you listen to other people. And I'm not saying those things don't work or help, but I think in my opinion, when you treat somebody humanely by giving them as nice a room as Serena Hotel, which is what and the food here was awesome. And I used to tell Dr. Jenga that all the time. And then Dr. Jenga used to come to my room. I don't know if he does that for anybody else, but
no, only people who come and talk on TV.
Okay, he used to come to my room, and even the doctors, the psychiatrists, psychologists, they'd come to my room. I didn't want to go and be seen in a big circle downstairs or whatever. And so I guess for me, what helped was being given custom treatment instead of a cookie cutter treatment for everybody, you know. And so, and your second question was?
If the situation is still the same, or is it a black thing in relation to you paying?
No, the situation in the US, and that's why you're going to see a lot of diasporas bring their children here, or even themselves here, is because the situation in America, it's almost criminal. When you go to a thing, you go to a facility that is housing even 100 people, and you're eating breakfast at 5 a.m., you're eating dinner at 4 p.m. I mean, you know, that's not, you know. And then also the other thing is in the US, the programs that would be similar to this would be $100,000 even for a month, each month. And even the clinical psychologists and psychiatrists that you go to, the psychiatrists just throw drugs at you, you know. I remember going to a doctor and I said, you know, I'm an alcoholic. Okay, so that means that I'll give you this. Oh, are you weak on Tuesday at 2 p.m.? You know, he's like, wait a minute.
Look, I'm going to stop you there. Mm-hmm. There's a friend of ours here, Neil Horn. Why are you laughing? Give him a microphone. He's originally from South Africa. He's just come back from America and Canada. Why are you laughing?
First of all,
it's working.
It's working?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you. I've really enjoyed the afternoon. But to come back to the question, I thought I'm the one asking questions, but I've been asked a question. I'm laughing because this is the feedback that I have from so many of my patients. I'm a psychiatrist working at Chiromo Hospital, and so many people who I've treated in South Africa and other countries say, we went there, the doctor gave us so many tablets, the therapist came after 10 minutes, they said, that's time up. So it's wonderful news to hear that you got the proper VIP treatment at this institution.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, so he's confirming that your story is completely right.
Exactly, yeah.
How yes, Gadani? As she's coming up, what was in what way was your experience here different?
I think
other than the food.
The food was awesome, and I got some sleep. In the US, you don't get any sleep because what they do is while you're in rehab, every 30 minutes, because you're mixed in with people who are on suicide watch, somebody's coming and putting a flashlight to your face to see if you're suicidal.
If you're dead.
You're dead. So, you know, that does not lend, you know. I think my experience here was I felt like I was being listened to.
That's your room.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was my room. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And you know, so I felt comfortable. I had my laptop, I didn't use it. I had Netflix, I could put my account on the TV, I didn't use it. I just had time to think. The only bad thing was this bird, you know, making noise. That was the only thing. So at night I had a hard time sleeping. But and by the way, let me tell you this. This is how good this place was. I didn't know that I had diabetes. I was diagnosed while I was here.
Diabetes?
Diabetes. I didn't know that because of the alcohol, I got diabetes. I didn't know until they did some blood work. And they said, by the way, do you know you're diabetic? I said, no, I didn't know. And now looking back, I had been diabetic for maybe a year or two. So I was very, very, very happy here.
Gadoni, you had a question?
Yes. There's a question online. Salome says, thank you for opening up. The question reads, bullied because you don't know who your father is, being called a bastard. How do you cope with that as a boy child?
It's tough. I mean, and like I said, some people will hear me say that and say, some people, have more serious problems. What I tell people is this: whatever you went through is your truth, is your pain, and maybe somebody else went through trauma where their father was murdered or something like that, but that's them. We all handle things differently. You can even have 3 kids and they all go through the same thing and they come out with different outcomes. So I think the way you handle people that are going through alcohol, if they tell you that it's a problem for them, it's an issue for them, accept it and let them, because like I know with a boy, you can tell a boy man up, and one of them will man up, and the other one you just made him depressed. So
all right, Gavani.
There's another question. Success can be lonely. Does one need to learn to live without it?
What's that?
You said that success can be lonely.
Yes.
Success can be lonely.
Yes.
No, it doesn't have to be. I guess if you didn't have the coping mechanisms of or dealing with your own issues, money does not help. If you were a bad person before, it exaggerates it. You become a worse person. If you were a good person, you can choose to remain a good person. It's just that when I said this to somebody, and now he uses it against me all the time, and I tell him, I'm the one who said it, not you. But this friend of mine, I told him, I grew rich before I grew mature. So yeah.
Okay.
So I was rich, but I was not mature. So now I'm maturing at my later age. Had I been this mature that I am today when I was 30, I wouldn't have gone through the trauma and the damage that I caused. Yeah.
That you caused yourself and those near and dear to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Doc? Dr. Gumbo? Your name and what you do here?
My name is Dr. Kumbo. I'm one of the psychiatrists here. So my question is, would you kindly take us through your thought process at the peak of your suicidality and at the moment when you decided you wanted to live again?
At the peak of my what?
Suicidality.
Suicidal.
Oh, yeah. I think before somebody thinks about suicide, there's a lot of, self-hatred. I'm not good enough, or people don't like me, people hate me, and you let yourself get more depressed. There's nothing more comforting, and this will sound weird. There's nothing more comforting than not opening up your curtains in the morning and letting light in. Your blankets are warm, and you start feeling sorry for yourself. They call it a pity party. And there's no better party than a pity party because you're winning. You tell yourself that you're useless, you are useless. If you tell yourself nobody likes me, so it's easy to sink into that. And if you don't have a support system or people that will say, look, I'm opening up these curtains, I'm yanking you out of bed, I'm throwing you in the shower, and we're going out to do anything. If you don't have that support system, it starts building and building and building, and you can tell that person, can't you see that you have money, or you're blessed, or you're gorgeous, or your mom loves you, or this, they can't see that. So what has to happen is, when you see somebody start to slide, when you see that they sleep longer, or they're just withdrawing from you, anybody can go through this. And people think it's because sometimes when you have a death or you have something traumatic, those are the people that commit suicide. No, it's anybody can get, it's a slippery slope if you let yourself. So one thing that I learned in many years of going to therapy is when you wake up in the morning, no matter how you're feeling, just open those curtains, let the light in. If you don't do anything else or don't talk to anybody else, just go outside. If you had suicidal thoughts, you change your mind. Because suicide sometimes, to me, is a rash decision. Because if you, and also, if you know that you're suicidal, don't have your weapon. When I went to rehab, I realized that for me, when I was thinking about it, I was going to use a gun. Found out that other people, it's pills. By the way, anybody ever think about taking pills, it's worse, you're not going to die. You know, just saying that. I saw a guy who came to the thing and he took 100 pills or something. And for some people, it's a rope. Some people don't have those things near you. Because it's such a snap decision that by the time you realize it, you know, it's too late, you know. So if you know somebody has a propensity for that, make sure you take all those things away. And recognize that the more happier the person, let's say somebody, you've known somebody that's very sad, and then the last 2 days he's so glorious, he's buying people drinks, he's so happy, and there's no explanation. That person is about to commit suicide. I had a friend of mine here in Kenya when I moved back here. He went and bought, he never used to spend money on his friends. Don't want to call him cheap. But this one day he went and bought everybody drinks. And he was so happy. And people were like, what's wrong with this guy? The next morning he had committed suicide. So watch for these signs. And you know, and let me say this. And the World Health Organization published a report saying that 60% of the world population are saying they're lonely. 60% of adults in any country, even the United States. Loneliness leads to depression. And for some people, it leads to alcohol or it leads to drugs. And also, let me say this while I'm talking about, like especially, I'm really passionate about teenagers and people in their 20s. There's this thing nowadays where even psychiatrists and psychologists say, well, it's just bang, it's just weed. No. Weed, to me, is a gateway drug. It can be legal in the United States, in some places it is, but that doesn't mean that, that you know, it doesn't. When I say a gateway drug, you start with weed, then when you have money, you start doing harder drugs. When you have money, you do alcohol. And by the way, I've answered this question to so many young people. Oh, I only drink wine. Wine is probably in some cases worse. In the United States, a bottle of liquor sometimes would cost me $83. But for $8, I can get a bottle of wine from a petrol station, gas station, drink the whole thing in one swoop, and get as high as that whole thing or whatever. So people are now drinking wine, and obviously cheap wine has sulfides, has, it's cheap, but there's a reason it's cheap. And people are dying from it. A lot of people are dying from it because they're saying, oh, or the doctor tells you, stop drinking alcohol. Oh, doctor, I'm only drinking wine. Somebody very close to me died from drinking wine. Okay, and actually people who drink wine can hide their alcoholism even more. The ones I'm talking about, the ones that drink in the house. So yeah.
Okay, good. You got your answer? We'll take one last question. If there is anybody who has a burning question. Yes, Debbie?
Good afternoon. My name is Debbie Onsongo, Clinical Services Manager, Chiromo Hospital. So you've mentioned something very significant. In 2023, depression was ranked third in the global burden of disease, and it's estimated that in 2030, it'll rank first, probably. So despite all the success that you achieved, what is one thing you'd say today to someone who's listening not to follow in the footsteps of what unfortunately happened to you, but now you heal from that?
I think, they say that social media has made us less social. Our phones, which are supposed to help us connect with people, have made us to not connect with people. I had a 1 hour texting with a very, very good friend of mine. 1 hour. We're both in Nairobi. After I finished, when we were done, I said, why didn't I just pick up the phone and talk? So we hide behind our gadgets, Then we are so isolated. You go on TikTok, you know, you watch all these, you know, funny videos. You're making yourself dumber. You go on Instagram, you see everybody is doing better than you. Everybody is happier than you. Everybody has a better car than you. So what does that do? You feel depressed. I go to restaurants all the time, and I'll see two ladies, they're there, you know, girls' night. They all, each of them is on their social media. So without us knowing, and then also now you've got people, especially in the US, working from home. The more isolated you are as a human being, and even if you have a child and your child goes to bed at 8, you're there from 8 p.m. until midnight, whatever time you go to bed. You're more lonely today than your parents or your grandparents were. These social social media that we have is making us whatever. So this time I'm going to plug my own company.
I was going to say, actually,
yeah.
Because I do know this is your moment now to tell us what you do, what you're doing, and where you're doing it. And then we'll come to the last question, which I have promised you that I will remember to ask you. So, advertise yourself. So,
and that's not the reason why I came here. In fact, it's an app that I have. It's called Pakaya, P-A-C-A-Y-A. It's still under development. Let me just give you a quick background. When I came to Kenya, I was looking for something to do, a purpose. You know, I didn't want to sell cars, and you know, Kenya is a different environment from the U.S. when it comes to selling cars. So I didn't want to do that. So years ago, Mr. Chris Kirubi and I owned a dating app in Kenya. It was called LoveFindMe.com.
Love finds who?
Love Find Me.
Okay.
So I owned it, and then I sold some shares to Chris Kirubi, and we ran it for a while. He was supposed to advertise for me on Capital FM. That's why I gave him the equity. His DJs did not want to to advertise, so, you know, said fine, no problem. We remained friends. So when I came to Kenya, 10 years later, whatever it was, I said, you know, maybe I can start a dating app. And I started, and we got a lot of people on the dating app, and I called it Pakaya. Pakaya is just a name that I used to buy URLs and just hold on to them. Then I would sell them, you know, to people. And so it was a dating app. It was going well, and I realized that people are going to get on the dating app. They're going to throw this thing, and you know, and I was not proud to come to here, a place like this, and say that I own a dating app. You know, people used to ask me, and they say, a dating app, you know, okay. I was kind of ashamed of it, so I pivoted to something that does not exist in the world, which is an activity app. What do I mean by that? What I'm doing is, my goal is to combat loneliness in the world. My goal is to make sure that everybody who wants to be active, because everybody, all of us have 5 main friends. You know, yeah, we know everybody, we work with a lot of people, we have you know, acquaintances, but most of us have 5 friends. So let's say, for example, tomorrow, I really feel like going to work at Karura Forest. I call friend number 1, no, not available. How much is it going to cost? I don't want to do that. You know, whatever reason. You can even ask your spouse, husband, whatever. They're not available, don't want to, whatever. So you end up not going. But it's something that's passionate to you. So what Pakaya does is it triangulates. It says, and my website is not as good as I would want it to be, and the app is not as good as I want it. It's out there. It's got a lot of people. But what we do is we triangulate. You come to us and you tell us what kind of activity. You've already picked, when you're on board, you've told us what activities you're into. Not hobbies. Hobbies is I play golf. People say, if I ask you what's your hobby, you say horseback riding. No, you don't. You know, when was the last time you go, you know? So interest, what do you feel like doing? Then we triangulate that with who else is interested in doing the same thing. That is your age group. For example, if you're 40, you don't want to hang out with an 18-year-old. So we filter that out for you. And then there's some things that men want to do with men, women want to do with women. Then we find the Karura Forest or whatever, the place to do it in. And these don't involve money. Even coming to my app does not involve any money. You just find people that are, you know, you say, tomorrow I want to play golf. Most times people play golf as 4 people. It will find 3 other people that want to play golf with you. So again, the main goal, and I'm calling it the Pakaya movement, is to alleviate loneliness through activities. For example, there's Jaffrey Park nearby. Most of us would love to go, but you know, am I going to go alone? You know, most of us sometimes want to go to a very nice restaurant. I don't want to go alone. You know, you want to go see a movie that nobody else in this circle wants to watch that movie, but you know there's somebody else who wants to watch it. So you go, and it's not dating. Usually we're only letting 3, 4, 5 people, whatever, to get together. They do the thing. And then also for a lot of people are looking for side hustles. So for example, I know how to play guitar, I know how to cook, and these people can teach you. And it's an activity that you do. So all of these things is coming together. So I'm going
When are you launching?
In May, in Chicago. I'm going to Chicago, I'm launching in Chicago. I found that Kenyans, if it doesn't come from America to here, if you start here...
It's not good.
No.
Okay. So off you go to Chicago.
Yeah. But it will be here in Kenya, you know, but I'll launch it in Chicago.
Okay. Now, I'm conscious that we are running out of time. Yes, Bana producer. So there's a question I promised to remember to ask you, which is what advice, number one, do you give to Kenyans who are in the diaspora in Seattle, Dallas, New Jersey, wherever? What are you telling them from your many years of experience about, number one, their mental health, number 2, what they might do about their current state of mental well-being or not? And the supplementary question is, what are you going to say to those people who are watching us today and are planning to go to America, either looking for a green card or looking for a job? What advice are you giving them? 2 questions.
Yeah, so the first thing I would do as a parent of a Kenyan child in the US, whether they're born there or not, I mean, my brothers and I have had children, our children have been born in the US. They have our last names, Karango or Karanja, whatever, Jenga, whatever. They will never fit into the US society. They will never be let to fit in. You have to assume that they feel that way. Because even our kids, when the first thing, and some of them have never ever been to Kenya. If you ask them, where are you from? Instead of saying Philadelphia or Baltimore, I'm from Kenya. That's the way they identify themselves. So as a parent, assume that your kid feels that they're not fitting in, and they never will. One of the reasons I came home was I had all this wealth, but in the US, nobody cares, okay? And you'll never fit in. I still felt, nobody has ever called me the N-word, ever, ever, ever. In fact, most of my employees were Wazungus, and they worked for me even when I was a 30-year-old. But I never felt it was home. That's why you'll always see all these diasporans, when they get to 60, 70, they're coming back, you know, because you'll never feel at home. So to answer your question, assume that your kid is being bullied or doesn't feel like they, you know, an American. Their passport may say this. And also don't forget, because of your accent, you know, you as a parent have a slight accent. I can detect that even with my kids, because they don't speak Kikuyu or Swahili, but they think, I mean, there's an effect. Assume that your child, keep talking to your child and assume that they're going through not fitting in. Because I also felt that, you know, I'd feel proud of myself whenever I'd land in Kenya. But when I'm in the US, I never got called the N-word, but I kind of felt it. You know, until I pull up with my Rolls Royce, I'm treated badly. I mean, not badly, but you know, but when I...
Differently.
Yeah, differently. So always assume that your child is, you know...
so what color was your Rolls Royce?
White.
White. just a lot of detail, yes? Yes,
so,
white. Yes.
So my point is, assume that your child is not fitting in. We don't talk to our children. We don't. In Kenya and also in the US, we don't talk to our children. We don't notice their patterns of behavior. Assume that because your child in the US is going to a public school, and you guys see in the news where there's shootings, there's drugs, your child goes through a metal detector every time they go to school, assume that they're going to be offered drugs and alcohol. Assume that and talk to them. And also the last thing is, the biggest regret as parents is not having spent enough time with our children. We feel like because we take them on vacations, that's enough. It's the everyday interactions. You know, so I would say that, and to be blunt and honest, because in Atlanta we have a huge, probably 20,000, 30,000 Kenyans in Atlanta. Half of those kids are depressed. Half, and I know that for a fact.
All right, just slowly. 30,000
Kenyans,
adults
and children and everybody
and
else.
in your very humble estimation,
half
of them. What is causing this depression?
Because like I said, they don't fit in. You know, they feel an attachment to Kenya, but they've never been, or they come to Kenya and spend 2 weeks in Kenya. They don't speak. First of all, you and your wife talk in Kikuyu, and then your kids are always saying, I know you're talking about me, in Kikuyu. There's nothing worse than not feeling like you belong anywhere. And then the American society, in any case, forgetting about everything else, there are a lot of drugs and alcohol. And
look, I'm going to stop you, David. Tell us something good about America.
I would still go to America. I would still get a green card. I would still go there. I would still, work as a CNA. That's what most Kenyans do. They work as a certified nursing assistant, where you take care of old people. I would still do that because I know the unemployment here, the opportunities here are limited. I would still do all that, but just be careful. There's nothing worse than you becoming successful or having money and your kids are useless. There's nothing worse. So it's just being aware. And the reason I'm here talking about it is because a lot of parents feel helpless. They're finding out when it's too late. When your child is already addicted to fentanyl, I don't know how much you can help them when it's too late.
Thank you so much, Bwana Karangu. And that's the letter we promised from America. I think we have learned many things from you. First of all, that the top of the mountain can be a very, very cold place, and that confronting reality can be equally difficult and challenging. We've learned from you, thankfully, that adverse childhood experiences, bastard and that sort of thing can have a long-term effect on children, and that to some extent does lead to instances of alcohol and other substances use. We've learned from you that anybody who thinks that America is only a happy place should really think about where they're taking their children, what they're doing for them. But I think most crucially, I think what you have taught us is that dark as life sometimes can be, there are opportunities that come to us for resilience. And what you've said, which I think is very gratifying to this team here, is that when you came back to die in this country, the very opposite happened.
Exactly.
That you found meaning to your life, that you have now decided it is not your wish to die, you have found purpose, and that really, well, thank the hospital as your parting shot. Look at that camera.
I would say I'm so glad that I got this opportunity to talk to all of you and hopefully to bring to light what a lot of you are going through. So many people come to me and they say, you know, I wish I knew what to do with my brother, my sister, my children or whatever. And it must be a miracle that you've been able to go for 2 years without a drink and not be tempted. A lot of people, more than you know, are going to go through this, are going through it. There's so many unnecessary deaths and so many illnesses. You've got pancreatitis, you've got kidney issues, liver issues, and I would say that, you know, Chiromo for me was the best place to come and be peaceful and be able to get the help that I needed. And even the darkest days can become light if you choose to live. Just choose to live and everything else will work itself out. There's no one cure-all for this disease, which it's a disease. But just, you know, I didn't mention this a lot, but I've studied every program there is for becoming sober from addiction. The one common thing is God and prayer. That's the one thing. I've seen people do all kinds of things, all kinds of medicines, therapy, whatever. If you look at the 12-step program, which is for Alcoholics Anonymous, God is in every one of those 12 steps. I'm not an overly religious person. I don't go to church on Sundays, but prayer has helped me. Prayer has helped me. I pray every day, and I pray for sobriety every day, and it has worked well for me. I'm not tempted because it's inside me. So the last thing I'll say is, you know, loneliness is real. You can even be married and be lonely. You can even be, you know, have a bunch of kids in your house and you're lonely. Let's take this loneliness seriously and just try to be out there doing anything with anyone. In May, I'll introduce this app called Pakaya, and hopefully, you know, doesn't matter what your age is, you'll find activities that other people similar to your profile will want to join. And I just want to thank Dr. Jenga. I keep telling him that I owe him my life. He says no, but I know for sure I owe you my life. I would not be alive today, and I'd be missing out on so much. And I'm, you know, are there challenges every day? Yeah, I have challenges, you know, with this, that, and the other. But alcohol, I never once think about alcohol. That's the one equation, one thing I removed out of the equation. I have challenges, you know, I'm a human being. I have challenges, issues that come up. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. But alcohol never comes into the situation. Before, it was the first thing I would grab. Now, I deal with things. And I accept, you know, I think the serenity prayer is, I accept this, that, and the other, whatever. I can't recite it, but that is the truth. I accept what I can control and what I can't control. I'm the most chill I've ever been in my life, and I'm so happy. And thank you again.
I thank you. With that, I think we bring it to an end. Today's edition of Letter from America. I want to thank all of the people who have been involved in this production. Gadoni and your team, Beryl and your team members, the group from Citizen Digital. I think, I mean, for me, it's been wonderful. Just looking at people nodding their heads like this, I think one or two people have learned maybe one or two things. And in the event that the opportunity presents again, we will come back with a letter maybe from Thika, or a letter from Ohio, or from Migori even, who knows. But I've enjoyed presenting this letter. Thank you very much, Bwana Karango.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Asanteni sana. Bye-bye.
Research indicates that 1 out of 4 Kenyans have a mental illness.
I've noted with extreme sadness and profound concern the recent rise in reported cases of suicides and homicides in the country, particularly femicides.
In 2019, President Uhuru Kenyatta set up a task force to look into the state of mental health in Kenya. The task force, led by renowned psychiatrist Dr. Frank Njenga, in its findings handed over to Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, revealed a country in desperate need of help. According to research and what the task force was told by Kenyans, mental and neurological disorders are common and widespread. It was clear that at least 25% of outpatients and 40% of inpatients in different health facilities in the country had a mental illness, and an estimated prevalence of psychosis stated as 1% of the general population. The common mental illnesses in Kenya are depression and suicide, substance use disorder, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and among other psychosis.
A heavy burden, low investment, high stigma. These were our key findings.
The crisis called for a deliberate attention with a focus on modern mental health treatment, and it is on this backdrop that 3 lead psychiatrists, members of the Royal College of Psychiatry, paused to draw a new roadmap to address the problem that was unknown to many 25 years ago. They saw the need of a specialized hospital focusing on mental health to provide promotive and preventive mental health care service.
We decided that we shall start something that would supplement or complement what the government was offering. And that is where we came up that we shall start something for mental health services in this country in the private sector.
We had the perfect location, and before we did it, we benchmarked, we traveled, we went to Pretoria, went to Durban, went to Johannesburg to see how hospitals for mental health are built, especially a high-rise, to make sure that the safety measures are in place.
If that did not happen and we continued to really give lip service, as it were, to mental health issues, a lot of the social issues that we are facing, you hear of suicides, you hear of, family members killing each other, you hear of especially those sort of high-stress professions.
Welcome to Chiromo Hostel Group. My name is Eva Swani.
And Chiromo Hospital Group is the fulfillment of that vision.
The type of service that is being offered here, we want it to be offered to every Kenyan. Yeah, that will make me happy.
When you hear about mental health and you see the places that people are treated, some may never even get well because they are put away, they are locked up.
By embedding the principle that the patient comes first and is at the center of everything that we do, we are at the front line.
We have well over 210 staff members working to provide dignified, quality mental health care.
Firmly anchored on the pillar of preventing mental illnesses and promotion of mental wellness, Chiromo Hospital Group offers a dignified quality mental health care service in Africa and beyond by adhering to evidence-based medicine. It is an ultra-modern specialized level 5 hospital with advanced technology. The hospital is standing in the gap as the leading mental health care hospital in the region to reduce the mental health burden. The state-of-the-art facility also serves the entire African continent in Nairobi with regular referrals in and out of Kenya. Chiromo Hospital Group strives to offer a dignified recovery through integrated programs targeted at getting the desired results.
The psychiatrists, the psychologists, and the psychiatric nurses, working together with well over 70 corporates, an increasing number of corporates out there, work to normalize the conversation on matters mental health. The stigma, the discrimination that has been so entrenched in mental health care can only be reversed when collaboratively we push this conversation in the normal social spaces.
The inpatient and outpatient mental health care programs are fully integrated with a multidisciplinary team of well-trained and qualified psychiatrists, psychologists, psychiatric nurses, counselors, spiritual leaders, pharmacists, and laboratory technicians, all under one roof, working to deliver quality outcome through face-to-face and telepsychiatry platforms.
We are focusing on promotive and preventive services as opposed to curative, which we do also provide here at the Chiromo Hospital Group. But our focus is shifting more towards what we call community psychiatry. And therefore that we have to be able to develop the acumen and ability to diagnose mental health issues before they actually become illnesses.
All what we've done is unveil it and say, this is what has been hiding, this is the elephant in the room. Like, we're fighting communicable diseases, but hand in hand, mental health is equally affecting us in the same magnitude.
We want our clients to also have that benefit of nature. Even as we do the psychological intervention from outside, we want our clients to feel like they're just having a conversation, but at the same time, they are getting a treatment. Some would say they feel like they're in a hotel, so it takes away actually that feeling of I'm in a hospital.
The support of the management, they have really supported us, especially the lab. We are provided with state-of-the-art equipment. Timely results have also aided in the management of the patients.
We take pride in keeping the rooms clean and also issuing clean bedding to the patients. Because once a patient enters a room and it's well arranged, it's neatly arranged, it helps them in their recovery.
From the work that we have done, we've been also able to publish a case study on the use of social media to harness the mental health care gap in Kenya, and this paper was published in the Pan-African Medical Journal.
The silver lining, just like any other non-communicable diseases, is mental well-being can be promoted and mental illnesses are preventable.
Once in a while we have one or two cases where they are not able to pay, and sometimes we consider it as a social corporate responsibility.
Our 25-year legacy is based on the people. We've had staff who've been here since the inception of this great brand, the Chiromo Hospital Group. Over these years, they've worked tirelessly onboarding other team members.
Every unit at the facility works towards the recovery of our patients. With a consolidated 180-bed capacity, the hospital is driven by a core team of 38 psychiatrists, 54 psychologists, and a team of 171 multidisciplinary team members to deliver the following curative and mental wellness program. The treatment methods at the facility include outpatient services, detoxification, psychotherapy, addiction treatment, mental health program, art therapy, group therapy, family therapy, occupational therapy, and nursing care. We give our patients first-class treatment as we walk with them on the recovery journey. The hospital has 3 branches in Nairobi, 2 located along Mudhangari Road, Lavington, and 1 in Westlands, with 201 strong core team members working around the clock serving the mental health care space with utmost respect, honesty, and reliability. Chiromo Hospital Group is dedicated to make mental health care fashionable. The partners are proud to be associated with Chiromo Hospital Group, a leader in mental health.
Quality, affordable, and investments on the right place.
Chiromo Hospital Group serves Kenya